Hello, good evening.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, good afternoon.
Let's wait for some moment for everyone to join our webinar. Let us know if you're able to see the presentation. Is the sound good for you? Can you hear us well? Okay, thumbs up. Nice. Good. While we are all waiting, you can see this nice slides, which is asking you from where are you joining? What time is it for you now? And have you already upgraded to PAM 4.0? So if you could please write the answers in the chat so we can introduce each other a little bit, just to get to know who is on the call. And meanwhile, people will be joining. While you're writing, okay, so I'm joining from Ukraine. It's 4 p.m. I see colleagues from Germany, so a little bit earlier for you. Yeah, good. From Lake Constance. Such a beautiful name. I need to Google where that is. Something like from a fairy tale. Yeah, to the Swiss border. Good, good. Must be very beautiful. Hello, for those who are joining. We're just having a small talk before everyone will get on the call. And you can have a chance and write down in the chat from where are you joining, what time is it for you, and did you upgrade to PAM 4.0? Actually, the most interesting question. Did you have an upgrade? Stuttgart, Germany. Good. And upgraded. Nice, nice.
Maybe I would add a new question to that questionnaire in the beginning. How much time did it take for you to upgrade to PAM 4?
Good one. Okay, maybe meanwhile, Rene will share in the chat how much time did it take. I believe we waited for a couple of minutes and now we are ready to start. Hello, everyone again. Welcome to today's webinar on the topic, The Ultimate Guide to Automotive SPICE, how the book was created. Motivation, challenges, and the next chapter for SPICE and cybersecurity. Before we start, I would like to ask you to follow some rules. You have the option to unmute yourself, but please stay muted during the webinar until the Q&A session in order not to interrupt our speakers. If you decide to unmute yourself for the Q&A, be advised that this session is being recorded. We will have a Q&A session at the end, and we will be happy to answer your questions. You can put the questions into the chat as well, and we will collect them and then try to answer them in the order in our Q&A session. For the Q&A session, you may also raise your hand. We will call you so you can ask your question. Thank you very much. Welcome again, who just joined. I see some newcomers. So, today our speakers will discuss the story behind the book, why Ron decided to write the ultimate guide to Automotive SPICE, the journey from idea to published guide, challenges in identifying which tips deserve to be published, balancing theory versus real-world applicability, lessons learned while writing, how the material was structured and validated, collaboration with peers, reviewers, assessors, and some biggest dilemma, how they were resolved. At the end of the webinar, we will talk about our next webinar. So let's start. I will make a short introduction. So my name is Olga, and I've been with automotive industry for 4 years, working primarily as a certified Scrum Master and configuration manager. In addition to my Scrum Master responsibilities, I've also actively contributed to several ASPICE assessments, specifically for the Sub-8 process, where I played a key role in achieving ASPICE Level 2 certification. I'm excited to have a really great time today and a good discussion. Now, let me introduce our guests. Today, Olena, an experienced project manager and product owner with over 10 years in the automotive industry. In the first 6 years of her career, she worked as a software developer, which gives her a unique perspective on the SPICE implementation from both the technical and managerial sides. She has participated in multiple ASPICE assessments for different projects and actually was certified as a provisional assessor to better understand the assessment from various perspectives. With extensive expertise in process integration and assessment preparation, Olena has hands-on experience in overcoming the challenges of ASPICE, adopting, aligning teams to ensure successful implementation. So a very well experienced speaker today. And let me introduce our host. Some of you may already be familiar with him, but for those who are not, allow me to give a brief introduction. This is Ronald Melster, known in the automotive world simply as Ron. As a principal ASPICE assessor, he helps organizations, projects, and people achieve their goals. He focuses on balancing structure and standardization with pragmatism and efficiency. His journey began in the 1990s when he studied computer science in Berlin and Edinburgh. Initially, he was very passionate about coding, but soon discovered software engineering processes, from defining software requirements to modular development and process optimization. Since the early 2000s, Ronald has been working in the automotive industry and became one of Europe's longest service ASPICE Assessor in 2005. For him, assessments are more than just ratings. They're about empowering teams and explaining why behind the processes. He has collaborated with Bosch, Carmack, Nippon Seiki, Audio, Porsche, and HERE, influencing hundreds of professionals. One of his biggest achievements was leading a Bosch development division with 7,000 engineers worldwide to capability level 3. Grand applause. Ronald is more than just an assessor. He is a mentor, coach, and sparring partner, helping people not just understand ASPICE, but truly embrace it. Very glad we're all here. Yeah. Let's start our discussion. And now, 3 main questions into motivation chapter. Why Ron was writing this book? Yeah, am I writing this book? Why does Ron write in this book, and why he's writing this book. Let's talk about it.
Yes, thank you very much for the warm welcome and good afternoon from my side. Let me show the book first. This is the book we are talking about today, and the journey of this book started a long time ago, actually 2 years ago. A former colleague of mine with Carriot, he talked to me and he said, Ron, you need to write a book. And I immediately thought, never in this lifetime, maybe in the next lifetime. But the idea seemed to stay with me. And 1 year ago, a team member of mine, he talked to me again and he said, I trust you can write a book. And again, I appreciated his confidence, still did not believe in myself at this time. But again, the thought continued to develop in my mind. And maybe you remember the time at the beginning of the year when there was a very intense and emotional discussion about the future of ASPICE on LinkedIn. There were posts like, we must get rid of ASPICE and we need more freedom for the developers. And this was a time when I decided I needed to react, not just on LinkedIn, writing articles, but I wanted to provide guidance on how to implement this ASPICE in an effective and yet pragmatic way. So I decided to write a book. I can still remember this moment where I sat in the office very late working, and somehow it just clicked, and I decided I'm going to write a book. And the very evening I started researching on the technical aspects, how to create a book, which tools to use for writing. And I will talk about this research and the related struggle later. Beyond this personal motivation, I examined what ASPICE books are currently available. There are two kinds of books. They're either outdated, some of them are from 2016 or earlier, or only in German, Automotive SPICE in der Praxis, or both. More importantly, these existing books, they tend to be very boring because they simply repeat the ASPICE standard without actually explaining or showing how to implement it in practice. So they fail to connect the theory with the real application. And my goal is to provide something completely different.
Okay, thank you for sharing. You know, in Ukraine, people are often a bit superstitious. They usually don't tell anyone about their plans so that nothing gets jinxed. Ron, did you tell anyone that you were writing a book, or did you keep it yourself?
I'm very similar. I kept this project of writing the book a secret for a long time. Only my closest circle knew what I was working on. I only wanted to announce or publish it when I was certain and convinced that I would actually finish it and that I would meet my expectations regarding the quality of this book. And I planned to publish it when it would be needed most, after the summer break, now in September, when everyone returns to work and is looking for new ideas and approaches to implement ASPICE.
Very, very good idea and, solution to do that. And once you decided to go ahead with writing, you had to figure out the structure, right? Which chapters to include, how to organize the material. So how did you decide where to start?
Well, after the final decision, the overall structure was pretty clear to me. I would follow the ASPICE processes as a main organizing principle because everyone knows the processes. For everyone, monthly is project management, configuration management, etc. So there are chapters on these processes naturally. And however, for the engineering processes, I decided something different. I clustered them by the overall principles. Instead of going through system requirements analysis and then software requirements analysis separately, which would mean to repeat the mistakes of the other books, I chose to work out the common things and the similarities of these processes. Requirements are requirements and they are managed in the same or similar way, most of the time even using the same tool. So I applied the same approach to architecture and detailed design as well to integration and verification. You might say, wait a minute, there are some differences between system architecture and software architecture, and I do highlight these key differences in some chapters. So you will find the common things between architecture and you will see the key differences on system level, software architecture level, and detailed design. What has evolved over the time was the internal structure of the chapters. Each chapter on a process now contains a part what I call core tasks, where I explain what activities need to be done in the respective process from my point of view. This may sound like the base practices, but there are some additional tasks which I consider essential. And the next part is then on the sources for expectations for the process. ASPICE is just one resource. Customer-specific requirements like KGAs are another source, and of course there are other standards like ISO 26262, which add additional expectations. And then the main part is on how to implement the process. It started as a loose collection of hints and tips, and then during the process of writing, I started classifying them as challenges and best practices, which solve these challenges. Which meant that I had to rework the early chapters completely because they did not follow this structure. So there were some challenges without a best practice, and the other way around, there were some best practice which had no corresponding challenge which they solved. Now I have reached the point where each challenge in the book has at least one best practice related to it.
Okay. Back in 2019, I was a co-author of a book myself. And at this time, there was no AI support. I was relying on Google Translate and Microsoft Word's grammar check. How was it for you? Did you use any AI tool? Maybe ChatGPT supported you?
Yes, definitely. The book would not be ready without ChatGPT, both the content as well the technical side. I consulted ChatGPT on a daily basis. I will talk about this later on, which was both a blessing and a curse at the same time. As I said, on one hand side, this book would not exist because I would be still polishing formulations and text. I'm not a native speaker, and I would have to look up many phrases and expressions, and ChatGPT knows English text much better than I do. So with ChatGPT, I was significantly faster writing the book. On the other hand, there were situations where ChatGPT drove me crazy, especially at the beginning. in the very first night, I asked ChatGPT, which tool can I use to write a professional book? And the answer was clear, Scrivener or Scrivener, I don't know how to pronounce it. And this was a tool I've never heard about, but ChatGPT was convinced this is the best tool available. So I tried it out, and ChatGPT even provided a template. And then I tried to generate the PDF from it. It didn't work. So I asked ChatGPT again, what can we do? ChatGPT came up with a solution B and claimed this would definitely work, but it did not again. So I asked ChatGPT again, it doesn't work, and ChatGPT came up with a solution C and even guaranteed me this would absolutely work this time, 100% guaranteed. But again, it did not. So I told ChatGPT again, and it offered me solution A again. So we're turning around in circles.
You see, this was actually crazy. So after all these failed attempts with the tools that ChatGPT suggested, what did you finally choose instead? How did you solve it in the end?
I decided to use a completely different tool, LaTeX. It's a typesetting tool for professional settings. And again, this decision to use LaTeX was both a relief. Okay, I knew LaTeX, and a new challenge because I also knew that LaTeX can be very complex. Nevertheless, I knew deep down this was the right decision to me, and to this day, I have not regretted it. Today, I've managed to create a system where I can serve 4 platforms with completely different formats from one source with the content, one single source of truth. The print version on Amazon is different from the Kindle version, which is different from the print version on print on demand and the ebook version, of course. Nevertheless, I have created the LaTeX environment and scripts, and I can generate all 4 versions within minutes. This goes even so far that the images are scaled automatically dependent on the page sizes. However, this path was not easy either. For example, you have these small, it's on the slide. You have these key messages or small examples or stories, and I had a picture in mind how I wanted to look it like, and I was telling this ChatGPT again and again, and it took us hours to create this kind of format. And my approach how to use ChatGPT changed over the months completely as well. At the beginning, I formulated bullet points or keywords, back then still in Word, and gave them to ChatGPT to elaborate. The result, the text looked very promising at the first glance, but then I started reading through and I realized that ASPICE had no idea of ChatGPT had no idea of what ASPICE is, and especially what I want to say as a message. So I had to correct so much and so many things, and I had to tell ChatGPT again and again what is correct and what is not.
Yeah, this is very common issue for everyone. Can you share with us a few examples of situations when ChatGPT misunderstood the context or changed the text in a way it didn't make sense?
Yes, definitely. Here are a few examples. I don't know how often I changed validation to verification. I told ChatGPT there is no validation in the ASPICE context. I know there's no process, but in the engineering process, there is no validation. And what ChatGPT really liked is mentioning, if you do this, then you are audit ready. First of all, in the ASPICE context, it would be called assessment ready, not audit ready. And furthermore, with the best practices I describe, it's not about passing an audit or assessment somehow. I want to add a real value which is sustainable in a project. And another example is ChatGPT really loves traceability and quality. Everything is traceable, even if it doesn't make any sense in this context. So it became quite clear to me that I had to do something in a different way. So I began writing down my thoughts for a chapter. So I created some kind of a storyline. They are to this day still part of the LaTeX source code, so I can go back and know exactly what I gave to ChatGPT and what ChatGPT created from this. Once I have finished the storyline, only then I handed over my thoughts to ChatGPT, and I gave ChatGPT very clear instructions. Do not add anything. Do not hallucinate and add anything, any thoughts. And on the other side, do not leave anything out. If it's part of my storyline, then it's important for my book. No matter what you think would be better for my book. There were instances where ChatGPT removed some thoughts. And I asked ChatGPT about, why did you do this? Well, it's better for the flow. No. And if ChatGPT had some ideas, then I asked ChatGPT, please give them the ideas to me after the text. And there were some really good ideas. So essentially, I used AI to formulate my thoughts into English text. Nevertheless, I still had to be careful that nothing weird happened. Once ChatGPT completely invented new process names. As you know, SW6 is called Software Validation Acceptance Test. And ChatGPT was confident that's the process name. And I had to correct ChatGPT again. No, it's software verification in PAM 4.0. And the funny thing is, ChatGPT was very polite, thanking me again when I corrected this. Yes, because I'm the expert and I know what is correct and what is not.
You actually were teaching ChatGPT about that. So we all know that AI-based tools are a blessing for us now, yeah, but still need to check, validate their output. Ron, you have so much experience, and I'm sure you could write a book with thousands of tips. So how did you decide actually which tips, hints deserve to be published? How did you choose among all your ideas?
Well, I wasn't so sure at the beginning if I could fill an entire book. That's why I kept it a secret. My first milestone was I wanted to reach 100 pages. And when I reached 100 pages, there was a point where the ideas just kept flowing. I remembered so many concepts and stories from my customers and also good solutions which I saw in assessment situations. So the task became more to structure and organize these concepts and tips into a logical flow and to decide which one to keep and which one not to keep. And to do this, I always ask myself if a best practice would be specific to a company or context, it was kind of universal because my goal was to provide best practices which would fit many organizations, smaller projects as well as bigger companies. And you can decide for yourself if I've achieved this objective.
Yeah. Ron, I have another question. ASPICE is a registered trademark, and the right to use the brand belongs to for the ASQMS, German Association of the Automotive Industry. How did it impact your work on a book?
Yes, that's another aspect we have to keep in mind. As you can see, Automotive SPICE is a trademark, always with the R behind. And there are some constraints how to use it. And as you mentioned, it's a registered trademark of the Verband der Automobilindustrie. And it's clearly marked on the first page of the book. And I repeat this at the beginning of each chapter when the Automotive SPICE brand is mentioned. But it's possible, according to the license agreement, that someone can write a book like this for free. No license fees to be paid to the VDA, as long as there is no promotion or marketing for training in the book or any certification courses.
So they did have some regulations and rules.
Yes.
Good to know. I've never thought about that. So, as we all know, ASPICE requires every single document to be reviewed and approved. No escape from that. So, Ron, did you have any reviews or proofreading, or did anyone supported you with this?
Not only did I have review, but I did configuration management, of course. I used GitHub and I baselined the book, the source code, and I still remember the moment when I had to press the approve button with Amazon. So yes, the review and approval was part of the process. And to answer your question, after writing the first chapter, so first 2 chapters, if I remember correctly, I asked an ex-colleague of mine to read it, and if he thinks that this book would be of value to the community. And then I continued writing the chapters, and I asked my team members to give feedback and review the text. And the review criteria here was pretty clear. Are there any texts which sound or smell like AI? And it was around this time when I changed my way how to use ChatGPT. And finally, I provided the early version of the book to the members of the ASPICE community of practice, where we discuss topics every Friday afternoon, and they give me valuable feedback as well.
Okay, so you are the truly SPICE assessor, followed the process. Now I would like to ask you about dilemmas. For me, making choices, it's always really hard, especially when I do not see the outcome. Did you face any dilemmas while writing the book? And what was the most difficult one?
I've talked about my doubts already. I doubted, do we need a book about automotive SPICE in a time where everyone thinks that automotive SPICE is old-fashioned and software companies closed down, and even the customers are not as rigid about automotive SPICE as they used to be. Assessment and improvement programs are cancelled or delayed. And in times where everyone screams on LinkedIn that the developers need more freedom and less bureaucracy, which is the synonym of ASPICE, as we all know. I'm being a little bit sarcastic here. But I decided the book is now more necessary than ever. So everyone is talking about software-defined vehicle. How can we implement a software-defined vehicle without automotive SPICE? We have cybersecurity incidents almost every day. So the software must be maintained. How is this possible without a defined software process? And the software development is shifted across the world towards America and India and Vietnam. So we need to work together around the globe. And the concepts I describe in the book are kind of universal. They have been around for a long time, for decades actually. What I do, I translate them into the automotive context and relate the best practices to base practices.
Okay, and before we move on, I would like to ask you about something personal, if you allow me. Do you dedicate this book to anyone? You know, I've always found a bit strange when authors dedicate their books to a long list of people, to my parents, my friends, my neighbors, whoever else. But recently, one Greek professor told me something that changed my perspective. He said, "You spent so much time on your studies." It was my university professor. That took time away from your family, relatives, kids, even pets, everyone. And because they gave you this time, you were able to dedicate this time for learning, for study. That's why you should be grateful to all these people. What about you?
Yes, writing a book is a hard time. So many people around me suffered because, as you mentioned, I did not have as much time. So I'm very grateful to my friends Christian and Michael and Oz, and of course my dog Kiwi. And I would like to thank my brothers, Matthias and Tobias, and a special thank to the community of practice, who provided early feedback to the ideas and books. And I would like to thank you, Olena and Olga, for inspiring me. Actually, when we started these webinars, this was about the time where I started the book. So you kept me going as well.
Oh, so good to hear. Thank you so much, Ron. It's always inspiring to work with you as well. And now I'm sure many of our colleagues are curious. So, how can they get a copy of your book?
Yes, and I'm a computer scientist, so I love flow diagrams or decision tables, whatever you want to call it. And you have to decide if you want to get the printed version, this one, or if you want to have the electronic version. If you want a print version, it's available on Amazon worldwide. It's around 70 euro, depending on your region. If you're living in Austria, Switzerland, or Germany, you can get it for 55 euro, the printed version. And if you better like the electronic version, again, you have two options. You can get the ebook on Amazon Kindle, so you can read it on any supported device. It's, I think, around 40 euro. Again, Amazon has a very sophisticated algorithm to calculate the price. And what I call the community version is a personalized PDF, which gets sent to you within minutes. And with this ebook version, you support directly my work. Thank you very much for this. By the way, there's now a voucher active for the first printed version in the German-speaking area. It's around 45 euro at the moment. And you can, if you don't remember this information, don't worry. You follow this link and they get all the four versions and how to get it on Amazon or the Stripe links to get the printed versions.
Okay, and now I, in my turn, would also like kindly encourage you, if you already have Ron's book, please take a moment to leave a review on Amazon. Your feedback not only supports Ron, but also helps others in the community to find value in the book. To do so, you should open the Amazon webpage. I was looking for 5 minutes, that magic button. You need to scroll down to the bottom of the page, and then on the very bottom, under the customer reviews, you will find this Rate Customer Review button. Please be so kind and leave your review if you already read it. Thank you very much.
Good. Thank you, colleagues. Now, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Ron directly. Let's open the floor for discussion. Is there anything you would like to ask our speakers? So now you're very welcome to turn on your microphone, ask your questions directly, or you can post them in chat, but there is no actually limit yourself. So this is time for you, our participants and attendees, to ask questions if you have any. Let me check the chat.
This was me, the link to the landing page.
Landing page, good.
Then I have a question. Is someone in the webinar who has already received the book? No one. Okay.
I have a copy. I started already. I didn't finish yet, but I'm on my way.
I was waiting for our participants to raise a voice. I also started reading it, very excited about it. Thank you so much for all this best practices. It's really very valuable. So when I finish it, I'm definitely going to leave a feedback. So colleagues, looks like we don't have any questions in the chat. Yeah, but maybe we can discuss something, or you can share like how you like the idea. Maybe you have your own ideas like this to create something valuable. And now you heard Ron actually guidance, yeah, what to do, what not to do. And this maybe inspired you.
Just
or maybe
you
have some specific questions on your setting which you would like to share.
Okay, if you allow me, I would like to mention that before you shared with us that you published a book, I just met on Instagram a post like advert that now you can write a book with ChatGPT within days and earn thousands every month. Just, you know, few clicks, a new book every week. And now when you shared your experience, how it looks like, I hardly believe that these courses, you know, it was courses. Yeah, you can pay me 2,000 euros for training and I will teach you how to publish books using ChatGPT.
Well, you can write a book, even on ASPICE, but not this book.
Yeah. Yeah. When it comes to professional, to something meaningful, I hardly doubt that AI can do it without human support. Okay. Thank you very much, colleagues, for attending the webinar today. We will have another webinar on October 29th. It would be 29. It would be where ASPICE meets cybersecurity. Very interesting discussion. We look forward to see you there. Post on LinkedIn will be available soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, colleagues. I was expecting, I saw somebody was writing in the chat. Yeah, if you want to share, you can unmute yourself right now.
Or you can send it on LinkedIn or bring the questions to the next webinar. We are still available.
Yeah, true. Thank you very much for coming,
Thank you very
for
much.
attending the webinar.
Thank you very much.
See you next time. Thank you.
See
Bye-bye.
you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.